Hello and welcome to episode 16 of the Build a Nation Challenge with Vukovar over in Croatia. We're just reaching the end of our 8th season in charge. It was a fantastic start to the season, a fantastic transfer window, but a few mistakes along the way, and we've just slipped down the pecking order a little bit. So I'll take you through what's happened. The resurgence of Hajduk split as well, who basically beat us in everything, and we'll see what we can do moving forward to fix some of the problems I've caused myself. And first thing to do is get to the end of season review, where you can find out what happened to Vukovar in season 8. We'd seen the transfer window previously. The assessment of the transfer window has probably been the best in terms of incomings we've had since we took over. The only new one on this screen is Tom Bakovic at the top, who's actually got signed of the season. But we bought Patrick and Kem in, 18-year-old promising midfielder. Not really played for us, but I think we were trying to get him out on loan, couldn't get him out on loan, but I think he's got a huge amount of potential moving forward to fill that centre midfield role. Nicholas Pereira we brought in, a left winger. He's a flat left midfielder. We want him to be more of an advanced midfielder, so there's a bit of a training burden on him. However, he is one of our best players in terms of the season previews now, so we really need to develop him and move him on a little bit. Neto came in at centre half. He's had a fantastic season, 21 starts, 1 sub appearance. Huge amount of potential on him. A little bit left still to recognise, but he's looking like a really fine player. Yusu Kamara likewise. He's actually made the next gen list, central midfielder. We need to integrate him into the squad a little bit more over the next season. Played 5 starts, 7 sub appearances, really limited by the fact he's a foreign national. More to that to come at the end when we talk about the bits I've done badly. Ethan Little, A+, again free transfer from Chelsea. He's got a 12 million release clause. So even if we move him on, that's a massive benefit to us as a club to rejuvenate some of the facilities and bring in some more young upcoming players. Antonio Kunjic we brought in, free transfer, very much a rotational player. He's just a useful squad player really. Experienced in the division, 6 starts, 19 sub appearances, 6.83 average, so really good. And then finally Thomas Bakovic, who we signed late in the window from Hajduk, actually one of our biggest rivals, £2 million. Again, we changed the formation because of this, which I'll show you afterwards. Dropped him into a deep line playmaker just in front of the back four, make ourselves a little bit more defensively solid while still retaining the kind of control that a player like Bakovic can bring you. And I think he's a fine prospect. And more importantly, he's Croatian as well. So in terms of the foreign nationals we've got in the squad, it makes it a little bit easier. We've got a first teamer who's actually from nation. So that's it. The players in. Players out. Again, we just cleared some out really. The only one that you won't really have seen on here is my Novak. We've moved on just to help get in some other transfers. Antonini Magancic, Newcastle took him for 5.1 or 5.12 million, something like that. It was a minimum release clause. He's moved on. They loaned us back for the rest of the season. It's really sad to see him go because he was a high potential player and actually made the next gen list. So it's a bit of a kicker. However, that's the risk of the minimum release clauses. We've had it previously with Guican. It's happened now with Magancic. So we just have to accept it's going to happen from time to time. And then some of the other players we just let move on that weren't really going to get into the first team. Loans out as well. Same kind of deal. We let a lot of players go out there. Maybe should have recouped a bit more of a fee on them, but I was more interested in them getting out and getting some game time. The most important of all the players who's gone out really is Joe Almeida to Lokomotiva. He did actually go for a fee, but he's going to be our first choice goalkeeper next season, I think. He's come on leaps and bounds, 3-star currently. He's already matched with Kovacevic, but he's got potential left to grow into, so I think when he comes back he's going to slot into first team. So that kind of loan in, not only is it strengthened Lokomotiva within the division for the season they were there, but it's also given us a massive benefit in developing a player for us for next season. Right, the meat of it then, the league. We had such a good start, really promising start of the season. I think we might have actually got a win against Hajduk in here, so we're in a draw, and then a loss, so maybe we didn't then. Maybe that's just me being overly ambitious, but I had a really good start to the season, and we've won 20 out of 36 games and drawn 11, so we've only lost 5 games, but Hajduk have really bounced back after coming second last year. They've gone strength to strength. They've only lost 1 game all season, and they've finished 10 points clear of us comfortably. So unable to return the top division. It was close for a long way. Really fell away towards the end, but I mean they're the ones we've really got to compete with. So we've got to bring in some new transfers in the window. already made most of them transfers ahead of time, which again I'll give you a quick glimpse of after. But bridging that gap a little bit further is what we need to do. We've reduced the odds. We're a little bit closer. So instead of 25 to 1, I think we're at 13 to 1. We just have to keep on plugging away, but we're moving in the right direction. Champions League wise, we got our first points in the Champions League. We've got a draw with Lille, got a draw with Copenhagen, and a draw with Tottenham Hotspur, which was an absolutely brilliant game. But our first win came at Newcastle. So we had an away win at Newcastle and got a last minute winner in a 4-3 victory. So that gives us kind of the awareness or the hope that we can win some of these games next year round. We were unlucky against Madrid in the first game. We were actually winning 2 late goals and that gave us 0 points. Maybe 1 win somewhere in there in one of the games we lost. I mean, it's strong opposition, but just another couple of points we could have got to the qualifiers and gone a little bit further in the competition. But I think that gives us some hope that we can do it slightly better next season, of which we've qualified for by coming second. Croatian Cup. I said we might have a really good run in this. Chance of maybe even retaining it, but we met Hajduk split in the second round and they put us out 3-2. So I'd even put a strong team out for that. But they've had such a great season, Hajduk. I don't know if we can even look at their schedule, but yeah, they had an absolutely phenomenal time. They got the Europa League knockout playoff round and then got put out by Vienna, which is a bit of a surprise really. They were winning after the first leg. So not only have we let them down in Europe, but they've let themselves down as well. So yeah, and then moving on to moments to remember, 3 big victories against teams just in the next echelon below us. So it's really us, Hajduk and Dynamo at the top end. These are kind of Osijek and Rijeka, just below that. Istra's just slightly behind, but we're starting to pick up some big wins against them is what I take from that. Is the gap's getting a little bit bigger. In terms of the finances, the only thing really to highlight off this page is the competition prize money at 17.66 million just for being in the group stages. It's phenomenal. It's double the amount of money we had when we were in the season before. So we've really got to get in there and progress into the group stages again as we move forward, so that we can keep building on the facilities and bring in a whole load of new young players. How we lined up, that's the formation as we had at the start of the season and last you saw us. It's changed slightly now, which I'll take you through after we've been through this club review, but there's no longer an advanced midfielder within the tactic. But largely them players are the ones that started game in, game out. In terms of the accolades, 3 Manager of the Month awards, which is good and not surprising considering where we were in the league. A number of player awards. I think Mateus Patel's come on leaps and bounds at centre half. We may move him on if he's reached his peak, just to cash in on him while his stock's high. More on why we might do that when we get to the squad page. And in terms of record breakers, Buzi's become the top goal scorer for the season, and Antonini Magancic with 5.13 is the highest fee we've recouped. In terms of the manager's timeline then, 2 high-profile players we've signed, so Bradley the Jesus and Thomas Bakovic. You've only seen Bakovic because Bradley the Jesus is a pre-signing for the next transfer window. We'll look at him at the next window, but that's a new right-back coming in to hopefully release up some of the foreign players in the league. In terms of the young players, Kamara and Magancic made the Next Gen Awards. Magancic just moved on, but I have tried to bring a couple players in from that Next Gen Award moving forward. We can't see him on there because it only shows you the runner-up and the winner. Buzi top goal scorer, and I think that's about it in terms of the manager timelines. No trophies this year, a bit frustrating, but I think as a transitional season we've closed the gap on that top spot. We've come second, we've qualified for Europe again, turned the squad around with these new signings in the summer. We've started loaning some players out to rivals. Let's see how far we can go. In terms of loaning players out, huge number of players went out on loan this year. The most notable really is Joel Almeida, the goalkeeper we loaned to Lokomotiva. He's had a great season with them really. He's become their first choice. He's going to be our first choice next season, and I think over the next couple seasons, and I've applied for an affiliate club to help with this, we're going to start loaning players within the division and slightly below to see if we can bring up the standard of the clubs in and around Croatia. And that really is the next step in this kind of Build a Nation challenge. It's not just about us winning the league, which is something we're going to have to start doing and competing in Europe, but we also have to find a way to make the other clubs around us better, and that's going to be bringing in young players from abroad, integrating them on loan into other clubs, and then selling them to those clubs as we move forward, also while retaining a core of high profile players for ourselves. So Almeida is kind of the first one of that ilk, Subaric to a lesser extent. I'm going to bring in a whole load of new players, and we'll do it again next season. In terms of finances, we've got nearly 10 million in the bank. The projection looks absolutely fantastic, 23.26 million. So financially, we've turned the club around from where we were 8 seasons ago. I think it's been a remarkable 8 seasons, really, when you break it down. And in terms of progressing the Build a Nation Challenge, I think we're now starting to get into the meat of it and where we can start trying to generate the clubs around us, not just ourselves. In terms of the board, we've done some fantastic things. The new stadium will be ready in 4 weeks, which is huge news. We've got another improvement to the training facilities coming through. Youth recruitment's still coming through. We've got an affiliate club to be determined. So it's all looking bright on the facilities front. And as we get better with that, the youth intake should get slightly better, and we can start generating some homegrown, as well as bringing in some of the players from abroad in the scouting network. In terms of the transfers then, we have made a huge number of transfers in. Firstly, though, going out, Aki is going to move to Benfica, not because he had a minimum release clause, but because we've been struggling with the foreign players. He's one of them foreign players, and Boozy was having a great season, so I've chose to cash in on Aki. We'll see if we can find someone within the European Union to replace as the understudy striker, and I think I've got to be a bit more cognizant of that moving forward, that we don't overload the club with the foreign players, which I will show you in the squad. And then Kivanovic, 27 now, we're just going to cash in on him, getting another young left back, and just continue to develop the squad that way, all at the same time helping Lokomotiva out a little bit, because we're giving them a really good player. So in terms of the players coming in, we've got another goalkeeper. We'll probably let Kovacevic go, maybe. We'll see how the nations turn out from that. We might well use Sergei Ivanov to loan out to a club within the division, similar to what we've done with Olmedo. Defenders, we've got 5 of them coming in, mostly centre half, but we've got 1 right back coming in, Bradley de Jesus. Midfielders, we've got a couple deep line midfielders in there and 1 attacking midfielder on the right hand side, but we'll go through them in the next episode. In terms of the scouting, still scouting the world, trying to bring as many in as we can. Not had any really high profile ones since the next gen list come in, but I am always looking to try and spend the transfer budget as best as we can. In terms of everything else, I think it's looking pretty good. Staff's good. Tactics we'll just briefly touch on. We've just gone a winger either side, advanced forward, dropped into a deep line playmaker with Bakovic, because he's such a good player, and a player I really want to kind of build the club around in the short term and start rebuilding the homegrown Croatian nationality around the club, because we've got quite a few foreign players in there. We need to just make it a bit more balanced in terms of home nation against foreign nation, but that's what we're going to go with. Dynamics, a couple unhappy players. Nicholas, he wants to move on. Mohart wants to move on. Ethan Little wants to move on. And Kovacevic feels like he's not wanted. Mostly because I touted him out while I was trying to bring in some other young players, but we can fix that. The club atmosphere is still pretty good. We won't go into the squad planner too much. Now, the squad itself, I've brought all the players I had on loan out of the under-19 squad, because most of them are over 19, and we've got 48 first-team players in the squad. Of that, a huge number of these players are not in the European Union, so Boozy in Albania, we've got 4 Brazilians, Cameroonian, Chilean, I think we've got some more, Ivory Coast, 2 Japanese, Morocco, 2 New Zealand, Paraguay, Peru, Senegal, and that takes us up to probably about 10 foreign, where you can have 6 in the squad. So I'm really just going to have to rebalance the squad in terms of them squad registration rules, because we can't afford to. Too many times we've had to have players sitting out of the squad, they're not then developing. So I just rebalance the books, cash in on them where we can, redevelop the squad, and go again for next season. But that's on me. That's me building the squad in a slightly wrong way. Let's see if we can correct that in the next transfer window and move the challenge on slightly forward. So there's a lot of excitement to come in the next episode, I think, as them players come in and as we try to move some of these players on. I think in the next episode we'll look to identify which ones we want to move on, and then see if we can turn the entire squad round really into something that's really, really challenging at the top spot in terms of the predictions. Because at the minute we're at 13-1, Hajduk are at 4-6, Dynamo are still ahead of us at 2-1. I'd like to go by the end of the transfer window to get at least to that kind of second place. Whether we can do it, not sure. I mean, Mohar's the second best player in the league and Pereira is the 6th best. Whether we can move up the list or poach one of them kind of players that are floating in and around there, Marcelo Costa, Raiko Torre, we'll see what we can do with the budget we've got. But that's really how I see us taking the next step up and then making sure that next season we do win the league or do get our hands on a cup and just raise the profile of the club. That should be just about everything. The last thing to just dip in is the coefficients, which we all like to see how we're doing. It's not great this time. We have made some moves in a positive direction over the last few seasons. However, what appears to be quite a poor performance in this last year has seen ours drop down to a score of 50, which means Bulgaria and Belgium will jump across the top of us and we'll slip back down into 12th. So a bit of a backward step this season, something we'll look to correct next year. A huge transfer window coming up, and then a pivotal season really in terms of getting players out loaned to the divisions around us as we look to build the nation of Croatia. So that should provide a really good update as to where we are. I'll see you at next episode for what should be quite a comprehensive transfer roundup and first 10 games of the next season, and we'll see if we really are making any inroads in developing the squads around us. So once again, thanks for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Enjoy the international weekend. Until next time, have fun.